Well, this might look just like the native Power BI legend. It's really a custom SVG visual that allows for a lot more flexibility than just the standard legend. For example, this one right here wraps text. Not only that, all of this SVG code exists in a DAX UDF that I'll be showing you how to call and then briefly walking you through the underlying code. I'll be sure to call out some tips and tricks that I've learned as I've been building more and more of these SVGs. But really, what I'm excited to do is share with you a solution to a very real problem that I've faced while building Microsoft Power BI dashboards. And that is that the chart legend is not customizable enough. That's right, we need more formatting options. If you're new here, my name's Ned. I've been working in the business intelligence industry for just about 10 years now. And in my free time, I like to solve problems just like this and share them with y'all. And so, if you're interested in watching me solve problems like not having enough formatting options for charts in Power BI, or how to do a weird thing in a Fabric notebook, and maybe even a little bit of Databricks, and I think my last video was on a mouse, go ahead and click that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up to let me know that I'm producing content that you enjoy. All right, let's jump into Microsoft Power BI and let's take a closer look as to how this right here is being built. So first things first, it is one of the new image visuals. Now, I believe if it's the November version or later Microsoft Power BI, you'll have the ability to create this new image visual. Now, what's really special about this new image visual is that once you insert it in, you can then go down to style and then go to image and then go down to select from data and then drag over an SVG image URL. Now, an SVG image URL is a way of embedding an SVG image in the DAX formula language that Microsoft Power BI uses. The DAX user-defined function that I wrote returns an SVG DAX image URL. So let's take a closer look at that function. Here I am calling it in this image visual, and here is the function itself. As you can see, I am calling it in a measure called SVG legend, and I have some variables in this measure that I am then passing to the SVG function itself. Now, the first variable that we're passing is an optional title. As you can see, I currently have it set to 0, but if I set it to this title variable, I will have a title called category that now will pop up. The next one is if we want that title to be on a line of its own. So right now I have it set to false, but if I set it to equal to true, what you'll see is that now category, or the title that we just set, is on its own line. Then the one after that is a maximum width for the title. So if the title exceeds this width, it will break onto a new line. So let me do that by just setting this equal to 10 pixels so you can see exactly what I mean, right? For now, I just have it equal to 100. The next one after that are the colors of the title and the colors of the label text itself. So right now they're set to black, which is a CSS color. However, in order to get this to match with, for example, this visual over here, this SVG legend is setting both of those to a light gray hex color code. The next variable right here is font size, which is controlling not only the font size of the text itself, but also the circle, which is equivalent to 1 row's worth of text. So if, for example, I were to make this text 110, what you would see is that the circle would also blow way up, although apparently that was way too big. So let's go maybe 15 right here. Right, see how this circle is way bigger. Then after that, we have the label max width, which is what is causing this text to wrap, even if the text seemingly has enough space. So for example, if we adjust this right here to 110, right, you'll see that we have enough space to include this remaining 20, but right here it hits 110 characters. Versus if we then change this over here to 300, it won't take up 300 pixels, but you can have it all be on one line. So you can actually control the wrapping of the individual labels themselves. Then we have the stroke width. So one of the things I do in a lot of my graphs. So for example, this purple one right here is I have a separate border from the fill color. So what I did was I built in custom stroke functionality that you can control. By default, it's going to be set to 1 pix, but I could set this, for example, to 3 pix. And what you would see is we now have a much more intense stroke. By the way, if you were to try and set this larger than font size, it's smart enough to understand that that is not possible. So it won't throw an error, right? So there we go. That's how you'd fix that. Then going on to the next one, we have the minimum gap, which is the minimum gap between our individual items. So by default, this is set to 5. And so if you get really, really, really tight here, right, or really, really tight here, so it starts to wrap, what you'll see is that the smallest this will get is 5. You can go ahead and you can edit that. So let's set this to 15. And then what you'll notice is that when we go back, right, this gap is a lot larger. Then what we have is we have the actual way that we are passing the data into this label. Now, the way that I'm doing that is by passing a table variable. Now, I'm going to jump in right here because one of the things you might notice is that not only am I passing a table variable, I'm also passing the column names that I have in that data table. And that's because I plan to submit this UDF into DaxLib. And in order for that to be possible, it has to be model independent, which means it can't require you to have any specific table name or table structure in order for you to actually use it. So just because I'm using a data table that I'm building locally in this SVG image doesn't necessarily mean that you need to also have that, right? It's model independent, but the function does expect a table full of data, and it does require you to pass it at least 3 column names. Now, the first variable that I'm passing here, which is called hex fill, is the actual fill of the circle. The next one is the border, which, by the way, if you just set this equal to a blank string, you will have a border of the same color as your fill, so it'll look like you won't have it. And then the one after that is the actual text itself. So if I type test right here and I go ahead and click check, you'll see that I now have test. And by the way, I just shut off the border. Now, one of the things you might notice is that the measure here is flagging these columns that I'm passing into the UDF. That's because I've declared this data table as a local variable. And sometimes the DAC parser gets a little bit confused, but since this is a variable, I'm just passing the column names in brackets. All right, let's jump into the TMDL where I want to call out a few kind of tricky things. So the first thing is, how am I requiring column references? And that's because I'm using these any refs right here. And then I'm simply going select columns from the table that's passed. And by the way, column these 3 specific things. So that way I know for a fact later on in the measure exactly what the columns are. Now, I said I would pass on some tips and tricks that you might need to take into account when you're building out a visual like this. The first of which is you need to include SF Text Pro as well as Roboto when you're building out these SVGs. And that's because iOS and Android devices do not have Segio UI, which is Microsoft's font for Microsoft Power BI, which means if anyone tries to view your SVG visual on their iPhone, it's going to look really, really wonky because it won't default to the Apple native text. And you want that to happen. So whenever you're using any font, always include SF Pro text. The next piece that I want to call out here is that I am separating out into kind of individual components here. So I have a style, which is all of my CSS. I then have a title. I then have a line break, which I'm using to put the title onto its own line. And then I have an items HTML, which is essentially for each row in that table, concatenating the SVG as well as the text. Finally, I'm combining them all the way down below. A lot of that really cool wrapping functionality that you're noticing is being enabled by the fact that I'm using a foreign object and I have the width of the SVG and the width of the foreign object set to 100%, which then means that in the CSS, when I use wrapping, it actually functions. Now, this is a TMDL statement. So I will put a link to this TMDL on my GitHub, and all you need to go ahead and do is copy and paste it in with a create or replace, and then just go ahead and hit apply. When you do that over here in the function section, you'll now have edwardcharles.legend.svg, which you can then go ahead and call in a measure of your own. And oh, by the way, you don't need to have all these other variables that I have up here, except for maybe the data table. You should probably have that in a variable. I just did it because it was easy. Now, you might be wondering why I felt the need to actually build my own SVG image visual for, well, a chart label. And the answer lies in, for example, how this is displayed right here. This takes up a ton of space, right? And there's no way to get this label right here up over here. So this is just basically a bunch of empty white space. And that's what frustrated me. And that's why I built this. The other thing is that a lot of the times when you're building these kinds of charts and you're trying to do something tricky by, for example, inserting special formatting, you have to actually enter in a column or some kind of data label that doesn't actually exist or is a constant, and then associate or only show the labels with that constant. And that then means that a lot of times you have this weird like space that you can't solve for. So that's another way. And then the third reason is text wrapping, right? Uh, I want to put really, really long labels sometimes, and I don't want them to take up a ton of space. So if you're a Microsoft product owner who watched this video, reach out to me about the legend because I have some ideas. For everyone else, I hope you can use this SVG. I'll link it down below on my GitHub, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe and give it a thumbs up.